So, coming to Mr. Agni, can you just tell us more about Power and Protect?
Good afternoon, everyone. Hi. I have a presentation going. So, we are in a very niche space. Can I have a show of hands for the number of civil engineers in the room? Oh, lovely. That's 4 of you. Okay. Which is still a good number because there is fewer and fewer takers for an industry that's very labor intensive. Most people still want to move into a job that's giving you a plush office space. Um, well, coming to what we do, how many of you can recognize what this structure is? Yes, the Leaning Tower of Pisa, right? Have you ever wondered why it's leaning and why it's not fallen down? Oh, by the way, before I go ahead, I know that there are 3 people in the audience who have already seen this presentation, but I don't have a much more simpler way of explaining what we do, so bear with me for a few minutes. Yeah, so have you ever thought why it's leaning and why it's still standing despite leaning? Okay, so there is a very weird mixture of clay beneath the foundation, which contracts and expands when there is water added to it. So when it rains, it expands, giving it way and making the foundation sink further. And it is not spread uniformly, so that's why it's sinking on one side. In the early 90s, it became to a point where it was on the risk of falling. And that's when a bunch of experts in a newly emerged field called the geotechnology, geo meaning soil, technology means technology, soil technology, which is actually the most new branch of civil engineering. The experts flew in from Europe and now the UK to address the issue, and they arrested the movement of the building and the foundation. They did a lot of rehabilitation work at the bottom. They have saved the foundation, which, by the way, if you have a chance, you should visit. The foundation in itself is beautifully carved, and I don't think it's accessible to the public right now. So yeah, these people are called geotechnology experts. Even if you have thought of any huge infrastructure buildings, be it the metros or any underground tunnels that you must have probably traveled on when you're through a Ghat road, etc. Everything means that it is being supported by an overlying heavy amount of soil being present on top of it, pressing down. So why hasn't it caved in? Or you are standing above a very, very huge structure, say a 40, 50 floor structure. The normal soil capacity can only bear, say, a 2-floor foundation, right? If you have dug a foundation for a building, a 3-floor, 4-floor building means you are already digging foundations for 5-meter depth at least. Now, for something as big as a 50-floor, 100-floor, and like the Burj Dubai structure, the foundation needs to be much more deeper, and it's much more complicated. Always the focus as civil engineering, at least for India, lies on the superstructure, what you see above the ground. For India, the concept of geotechnology is at a very nascent stage, and that is where our work comes in. So our applications, whatever we do, comes off services in tunnels. What you see is a metro tunnel. Both of them are metro tunnels. Hydroelectric power projects, railway projects, and one example that you see right now is the world's highest railway bridge. This is in Chenab. This is in Jammu. This is a very ambitious rail project connecting Jammu and Srinagar. It goes through valleys and also through tunnels, connecting multiple mountains. An extremely ambitious project because this is a place subjected to a lot of earthquakes and other geopolitical issues as well. So if you see this, where's the pointer? So the pointer doesn't work, all right. Yeah, okay. I'm so sorry.
It's a video.
No, no, it's not a video, it's a point. Can I know how to use the pointer? can try. Okay, if you see the structure, the concrete structure behind the foundation of this arch, you see it is done in like a pyramid kind of, stepped structure. Now, what comes onto the news is this bridge, which is always covered. When the crown, when the last portion of the arch was fixed, it received a very heavy press coverage. But what people fail to really look at is the foundation that supports this entire structure, which can bear all the wind loads, all the earthquake, that could come in that place, landslides, and sometimes snow. In this case, there is no snow in this area, but otherwise, in some places, it can be. So the foundation always supports it, and that's where we come in. This is some of the services that we do. This is what a metro station looks like on the inside before the structure is built. So if you've been on the Chennai Metro, underground metros, etc., what you would see is a posh interior, the platform and the concourse where you would be on the train or you would be coming in or going out. Otherwise, you don't know actually what's happening around. So this is the structure that would be present if all the structures are removed. And we make sure that the side structures are not caving in. And this is the kind of services that we do with the help of machineries and lots of laborers. So the technology is very high, and this very niche space is called ground engineering and geotechnology. This is some of our work. This is in Jammu, both of it. As you can see on the left-hand side, it's 100 meters depth. Our men are very trained, and they hang from the ropes above using safety harnesses. And they hold the machine in their hands while they drill and ensure that the slopes are stable. So if you're going on a train, if you're wondering why, if it is stable enough and if it's safe enough for you to go when there is landslide happening on at the top and at the bottom, there is all these work done already to make sure that you are traveling in a very safe mode. And infrastructure is not something private. This is where millions of passengers depend on. So this is one of few other metro stations, and this is somewhere in Jammu. These are some of all the sectors is basically where geotechnology comes of help. And recently we have won a bid along the India-China border for the Border Roads Organization, wherein we are there to support the road making activities of the BRO and making sure that the landslides and the earthquake portion is, that's something that they don't have to worry about. They can continue building the roads and keep on maintaining them while we take care of their, the landslides and other issues. So we are doing this in Arunachal Pradesh, and that's one of the places that we are working in. There are a few other works as well. So what is it to do an infrastructure business? The pros being, well, there are very few players in this market, and quality service is always appreciated. Whereas the cons is, it's heavy capital investment. You need a lot of money to be able to invest and buy these machinery so that it can go and work. A lot of working capital requirement. Larger turnaround time. It's not like you go, you buy something on the shop, it's not something a 30-day or a 20-day turnover time. It's not like in a retail trade wherein you can make money on a day-to-day basis. Here, we make the bill, and then the payment for the bill comes in 6 months later, or sometimes even 8 months later. 90 days payment is the norm, and it is something that we need to be, we need to be really good in managing the finances in order to be able to run this business. And the eligibility rests on the successful works completed, labor management, all of this. So anyway, this is just a brief for you to, you can close it. Thank you. Just for you to get an intro on what it is that we do on a day-to-day basis. And given that this is, our works happen on the project sites in different areas across the country, so I end up traveling a lot to all these places, meeting clients, monitoring and making sure that the work is being done on time, etc. The business was, as it is, started by my, the brand was started by my grandfather. My dad pivoted the entire application into this business. It's been 15 years since we are in this industry, and in the last 5 years, we have been able to move up the value chain, in the sense that earlier we were a subcontractor, and part of the innovation was also about how we position ourselves. So we have moved up the value chain, and now we are able to bid for projects on our own as a contractor in many state and government departments. So that's been our journey largely in the last few years.
Thank you, Psna. That was beautifully explained. Coming to Kritika, uh, now you have played like a major role in transformation of tips from what it was and what it is right now, and you all have opened like multiple schools and all. So can you tell us, after you joined, what are the major innovations or crucial role that you played or strategies that you have used to benefit the stakeholders of your organization?
Thank you. So this is a question that I need to think on, because when I started my journey with tips, that is 10, 12 years back, it was just a CBSE, and only after then we returned back from the UK, we had the thought of bringing in the IB and the IGCSE curriculum on board. So after bringing in the IB and the IGCSE board, and the thirst முடிஞ்சிருச்சா அப்படின்னு கேட்டிங்கன்னா அந்த thirst வந்து கண்டிப்பா இல்லை. So what is it that now I'm talking about is, when we frame a curriculum, it is not just the board or the program people give us the curriculum and we incorporate. It needs a huge lot of effort and the system and the resources to plan and then execute a program basically. So CBSE curriculum irukku already, IB curriculum irukku already, okay, IGCSE curriculum irukku for 6 to 12, and beyond that, how do we frame a kindergarten curriculum? For example, na solluna, now people are talking more of Waldorf education system, people are talking about CBSE, people are talking about Samachir, people are talking about again IB and IGCSE. When the curriculum is best for the children right from the kindergarten abdin ketingana, we have picked up all the best practices in all these curriculum. How do we frame our own best kindergarten curriculum, and why do we do this? Is because language and mathematics is very very important, very very basic. இப்போ ஒரு குழந்தைய அங்கே இருக்கிற ஒரு சைல்டே வந்து மேலே ஏற்றி கண்டினியூஸாக வந்து லாங்குவேஜ் பேரியர் இல்லாமல், இல்லை நீ தமிழ்லேயே ஃபுல்லாக பேசு அப்படின்னாலும் இட் இஸ் நாட் பாசிபிள், இங்கிலீஷ்லேயே பேசு அப்படின்னாலும் இட் இஸ் நாட் பாசிபிள். Mathematics skills, which is very very essential, so how do they develop right from the childhood is very very important. So linguistic skills are very good in Montessori method and in Waldorf method. So basically for English and mathematics we prefer doing Montessori and Waldorf methods. Movements la குழந்தைங்க படிப்பாங்க ரொம்ப அழகா. When we just move out, be with the nature, available with the nature, definitely that is important for the child to develop the gross motor and fine motor skills. So how do they do that is basically implementing all these program in the classroom. How do they learn? Concrete to abstract model la avanga padipanga. So kan paarthu kai vela senju adu padichu purinjikumbodhu definitely it will be taken lifelong. So apart from that, what we do in the IB model is thematic teaching. So why do we prefer thematic teaching? Is because people ask questions. Why அப்படிங்கிற கேள்வியை கேட்டு அவங்க வந்து they are getting used to asking questions right from the kindergarten. So we teach among like 4 themes throughout the year, so that they collaborate, they interact, they question and then learn throughout. So all this is possible only because there is a team working, a resource team working to give the best curriculum right from the kindergarten. All this was experimented because we were able to take the risk. We were able to convince our stakeholders that this is best education system, or this collaboration is much needed for your child to grow in a healthy and a learning environment. So this doesn't come easy. It takes years and years of refinement every year before the school starts. We just make sure that all the academic team is available in the boardroom. What did not work last year, what worked this year. So how do we actually reframe the curriculum? So how do we convince our stakeholders telling that this is best for your children? How do we actually give what is best for the children is what we mainly focus on. And apart from that, okay, curriculum, in the curriculum mattu kudutha poduma appdin kettingna kandipa pathadu. Apart from that, what do we do in order to have the collaboration with the other outside world to bring in changes abdin pathingana? We have collaborated with Akash for the NEET exams. Akash எல்லாத்துக்குமே டெஃபினட்டாக தெரியும். ஸோ ஆகாஷ் ஏன் முக்கியம் அப்படின்னு கேட்டிங்கன்னா, ஃபார் highly aspired children who wanted to take up NEET as their, medicine as their career, or get into universities like IIT, definitely they would be requiring platforms like Akash. So we promote children to take right from 9th standard to get into this field of integrated subject learning methodology. So all this was possible after we stepped into the campus, and we were trying to figure out what is a need and what is a gap. So how can we convince the stakeholders telling that we get the best of the international standards as well as the Indian standards. So this was possible when we just stepped in.
Thank you. Coming to Prasanna, now your industry, you should have definitely faced a lot of challenges when you entered the industry, right? So if you could tell us a few of what you actually overcame and what were the initial troubles that you had when you joined.
Looking back, I would say that I'm very thankful that I didn't join the industry when everything was, happy and colorful. I joined at a time in the company when it was very pivotal for us. We either innovate and move forward very quickly, or we perish. It was in that stage. Cash flow was at an all-time low, and there were no new orders coming in. And it was, like Mr. Nitin put it, it was a one-person company. So my dad was slightly sick at that time. So anything that, if he was not around, basically the business doesn't happen. And we really needed to overcome a lot of challenges with regard to finances, with regard to newer orders, etc. So there was no other way other than to innovate and move forward. And if you have read the book Good to Great by Jim Collins, the good is the enemy of great. If you're very comfortable where you are, if you're comfortable with the status quo, you will not go about changing anything. And change was the biggest challenge there. It was a mindset challenge. I joined when my dad was working with a team of 20 whom he was already working with for 20 years. So there was hardly any room for any new people to join as an employee in the company. They didn't know how to handle them, how to train them, etc. And the people who are there already, there was a lot of complacence there. So when I came in, what I did was I was focusing on the hiring aspects, resource, and making sure that we are hiring people who are self-motivated and who can learn, learners. They were my focus. I went to a lot of colleges myself, and I hired from a lot of engineering colleges. I must have interviewed over 500 to 800 people in this last span of the first 3 years of my my career. While simultaneously also dealing with the cash flow issues, making sure I visit clients and talk to them about payments, etc. Looking back, these were huge learning points for someone starting in their career. I also ended up firing a lot of people on the spot a couple of months down the line, learning from them and then firing them, and then hiring a whole bunch of freshers who were absolutely willing to learn. And a lot of things changed subsequently over a period of 1 year. So what I really focused was on getting the company process-driven and future-ready. And eventually, when we started taking tenders, all of this subsequently came of help. Because if not for us having enough resources to handle, both at a technology level and at a human resource level, we wouldn't have been able to really handle these tenders and the kind of skill set that is required when you're moving up the value chain in a business. So the challenges, I would say, one is a mindset challenge, which is not just from the employees. There is also the clients and the people I meet in the industry. It's very easy to look me and get cancelled for my age and gender. I was 23 when I joined, so I'm a woman and a 23-year-old in an infrastructure industry which is mostly male-driven, and also people are much, much older in general. So there was a lot of resistance there. People thought I'm there because I'm my father's daughter. But then, which is true, I'm a person who's, comes with a lot of privilege. I did have a foot in the door. But then in order for me to stay on and to make a difference, it was just about keeping my head held high and, keep doing the work. And I can't afford to work at a normal pace. I had to work 10 times harder on my Sundays, you know, do everything that I can to make sure that the company keeps running. And it's not about stopping and staring and, you know, making a mark at everyone who has something to say. It's about giving results. And once the results started coming in, the conversations and other sort of, you know, possible talks stopped. And well, that's the whole point, right? It's about, you know, keeping on, you keep going through the challenges.
Very true. So actually, you already touched upon this point, but I would actually like both of you to elaborate on it. The women in your respective industry, coming to education, mostly in the teaching staff and all, yes, there will be women. But in the decision-making skill forums sorts, why are there not much women there, and what can be done to improve that stage? And for you, it's a very male-dominated industry, right? So how are you managing that?
So when it comes to education sector, generally, pre-primary or primary, you might see a lot of women as teachers. But in the higher secondary, definitely it is male-dominated sector. And in the institutions, definitely it is male-dominated sector. Why, if you ask me this question, pre-primary and primary are the age where the children would be wanting to have the touch, warmth, love, care, empathy, all this. And I would definitely say that a woman can do much better than a man. It is not that man cannot give, but then more emoting personalities are generally women personalities. So it is always, when we look for to handle the pre-primary and the primary classes, we give opportunities for more women. And women also take this as an advantage, I would say. If I put my child in this school, I have a 9 to 4 profile job. So I go drop my son or daughter in the school, I work in the school, and I can come back with my daughter or son home, taking care of all the other needs, is what women generally think. And that is why there are more women who take up the teacher profile. When we move on to the higher grades, it is definitely a subject expertise that is much needed. And if it is a male member, it is easy for him to convince to shift jobs, shift places. But definitely it is not possible for a woman, for her career growth, to shift from one place to the other place. So that is why we always have good subject expertise who have traveled all the way, the length and breadth of the nation, to be acquired in good, responsible or administrative places. Right from the birth, a woman has always handled, வீட்டில் வந்து ஒரு தம்பி இருக்கலாம், ஒரு அண்ணா இருக்கலாம், இல்லை பக்கத்தில் குழந்தை இருக்கலாம், or அண்ணா குழந்தை, அக்கா குழந்தை அப்படின்னு ஒரு எம்பத்தியோட, ஒரு லவ், கேர் அண்ட் கன்சர்னோட இருக்கிறனால டெஃபினட்டாக it is much essential when the child is growing. And moreover, when the child is upset in a class, preferably only a female factor, a female teacher would actually ask a child, why are you upset today? What is bothering you today? So I could not see the normal activeness in you. What is missing? So what is it that is putting you off? This kind of questions actually releases the stress in the child. Only a female factor can connect to the in-depth of what is happening inside the child and correct them, help them. Be available even if the parents are not available for the children. Many of the parents are working nowadays, professionals, leaving the children unattended at home, not knowing the child has eaten or slept on time, or at least slept on time to attend the next day's school. Or most of the children are under grandparents' supervision, not knowing what the child actually does and what they are watching especially, and are they gadget addicted, what are they addicted to. But in the class, definitely as female teachers, they will be able to understand where the problem is and try to help the child as well as the family members. And if you ask me, in the board, ஏன் வந்து female வந்து நிறைய boardல edukka maatikranga appdin keta, I would say it is up to the female to take the responsibility to develop her capability to be on the board. If she decides that I will get into the board to become an independent director, you have to hire me, then I have to work, right? So I should make myself capable enough what I will be bringing on to the board today. So am I having the dynamics of the industry, or to any independent board director I am being chosen for? Am I becoming, am I becoming the brand ambassador promoting what the company has to the outside world? Am I asking the right questions? Am I understanding the strengths and weaknesses of the industry? How am I contributing to the strengths? How will I understand the weakness and try to make sure that the weaknesses are turned out to be the strengths in the future? Am I that one person whom people are looking up to as a mentor? So how am I going to mentor the people who are in the leadership skills? So all this is very much essential when I think that a woman getting into the board, pitching in her idea, pitching in her thoughts, definitely. So how capable I am, so what is my idea, what is my learning capabilities that I would inquire so that I am eligible to sit in that board along with the other men in the board. So that is how I see women getting into the board, making decisions strong enough as equivalent to men, depends on purely the women itself.
Thank you, Kritika.
Yeah. Priyadarshini, so the answer, I've already covered a part of it, but I want to throw some light on, the picture at large here. Being, 16.6% of the funds in the union budget of 2023 was allocated for infrastructure. And if you take the overall participation of women in workforce in India, it is about 27%. Whereas the women's participation in infrastructure industry is at 3%. The numbers are very dismal, and the reasons are very obvious, right? Oh, they have to deal with a lot of laborers. It's out there on the field. How long can a woman stand? Oh, there are safety issues and all that. To this day, it's been 6 years in this industry. I have not yet come across a woman in a business decision-making power. I have seen women engineers rarely. There are some tunnel engineers, women tunnel engineers I've seen in Mumbai. But apart from that, I'm yet to see women in a decision-making role. And this needs to change very, very clearly. Because statistics say that 1 crore of investment by the government into the infrastructure industry generates 1 direct job. And which means that if there are more women participating in the infrastructure industry, there is a domino effect here. And women make up more than half of the country at the moment, and we are just losing a huge amount in terms of revenue and in terms of the kind of skill set and the diversity in thinking that they bring. In terms of the challenges I faced, I made it very clear, but what helped for me is that I'm also a civil engineer, and that has hugely helped, especially when I'm sitting in government meetings. Most of these people are from the civil engineering department themselves. So, there's a sudden connect there. When I'm almost invisible or invisible in most meetings until I start talking. And even, there are some people where I would be talking to them, but they would like to look at someone else and answer the same question. But slowly and eventually it changes, because when I talk technical things, they know that, okay, I'm not in it just because I'm my father's daughter. I'm in it because I really am passionate about this industry, and I'm here, I mean business. So that has hugely helped in my favor. If I have to look at women's challenges in terms of the industry and how we are helping in the company, I'm very focused on bringing more women into workforce, especially in my company. So what we are doing particularly is training them differently. For a woman, a fresher engineer, a woman, I can't put her on the field for a long time. I would give her a 5-day or a 6-day exposure, bring her back to the office, and then instead train her on how to ask the right questions, despite sitting kilometers away from the actual project site. Whereas for a fresher male engineer, I would the training is very different. You go on site, you learn how to get the job done from the, people at the job and talk to the clients, etc. So the training here is very different. And somewhere along the way, 10 years down the line, when they reach, middle managerial or senior positions, somewhere it will equalize. So that is how we are approaching. The training is different for both of them. And one other thing that we are doing is we are hiring more women at the top.
Okay.
So I've hired a strategy manager. Specifically, I was very clear that it has to be a woman. So I hired her from my alma mater in Delhi. I studied in a program called Vedika Scholars Program. It's a women's only 18-month management and liberal arts program, and that has hugely, hugely helped how and influenced how I deal with things in the business. And it has been my source of strength when it comes to gender sensitive issues especially. So I went back and hired from my alma mater, and she's now, there are so many people now able to view her as a person who's, who's important for the business. And that hugely helps, hiring more women and bringing in the visibility, telling women who are 23, 22 or 4 years old, telling that, hey, if you work hard and if you study at, along these lines, or if you train along these lines, this is where you can be. If you can't be what you can't see. So making more examples out of people really helps in addressing the gender sensitivity issues here.
Thank you, Psna. I could connect a little bit with what you were saying also, so thank you. So coming to Kritika, now COVID happened and then the education field was totally disrupted. So we went from offline learning to online learning. So during that time to after COVID, how did you all manage innovations in your learning process? And where do you see the future of the teaching staff? Like the ecosystem is evolving continuously for what the students need. So how are the teachers adapting to what is required, and how is it going forward? Where do you see it going forward?
Yeah, COVID pandemic actually had a very big impact, not only in education sector, but in all the sectors. But how did it impacted education sector basically in schools is, after the COVID happened, in matter of just a week or so, everybody was prepared enough, the teachers were prepared enough for the online classes. And before that, I would definitely say a Hindi teacher, a Tamil teacher, or a language, any other language teachers wouldn't have used technology or computers, for instance. But after COVID happened and the moment when everybody decided to move digitally, online classes, they were equipped enough to learn quickly and adapt to the changes. And that is how I see that anything and everything that is available or much needed for that time, and how they actually adapt quickly for that change is what I see through. And apart from that, any circular or any message that we send usually has to be like a paper message to the parent community. Even though they are professionals, even though they are an entrepreneur, they would definitely not have been using their emails to check as a parent. But now it has become so easy for us to commute through emails. That saves a lot of resources, energy, paper. All this is happening one side. And now that technology has given us all the ways to connect people from any corner of the world, any guest speaker session, any alumni session that we are doing for the children, it is in a click. So it is available. It is all there. All this is evolving just because after the COVID happened. But it also taught us one other factor. How children were socially, emotionally disturbed, sitting inside the house, not seeing the fellow children, not having the playground, not having the collaborative classroom setup. And how did they affect mentally? And how did they affect mentally for the parents also to make sure that children are reading the program, everyday thought lessons, and doing homeworks, and then submit it. Basically, it was a disturbance for both the parent community as well as the children community. So what we understand from this is, however the technology, however the innovations are, nothing can replace a teacher being physically present in the classroom, and nothing can replace children being physically available in classroom. It can be technology or any inbuilt innovations can act as an aid for the inputs of doing something better, but definitely not as a replacement for the teacher or a classroom setup.
Thank you. Coming to Psna. So we've already been speaking a lot about digital transformations and AI and all. So in the infrastructure industry, where do you see AI playing a main role, and have you done anything or worked with AI?
We have done a couple of things with digital transformation, and that has hugely changed how we interact, and the dynamics within the organizational dynamics has also changed. One being with regard to the machines. I told you about the different machines that we use, and these are heavy machinery. Each one would be weighing anywhere between 3 tons to 10 tons. And each of this is in a project site, so the efficiency of these machines hugely affect the cost of a project. And it's very hard, it was actually very hard for us to determine the veracity of the data that comes in, which is handwritten and passed on to us by emails or by couriers, etc. in the past from the operators. Whereas now we have actually been able to remotely monitor and be able to identify and do predictive maintenance for a lot of these machines, and be able to check the veracity of the information that an operator tells us over a phone call with the help of the many sensors and Internet of Things, which is IoT. So that has hugely changed the ball game for us. That it has changed our relationship with the operators also, and it has hugely changed the way their discipline also functions. Another thing is that in terms of, we have, Mr. Nitin had spoken about SAP. We have actually implemented SAP in the company, and not the big white elephant, which is SAP HANA. That is the smaller, much tuned down versions, which is accessible over a browser. And we have implemented that. And that has helped tremendously in how we do the approval process, etc. So in terms of being process driven and being future focused, the digital transformation has hugely played a role in how we handle things.
Thank you, Psna. It was actually very lovely speaking with both of you ladies. Can we close the forum?
I would like to call upon Dr. Sridevi, YI member, and Mr. Mangal Ram, YI member, and Director Achyuta Schools to present a memento to the panelists. Discussion on investment scaling and ecosystem. I welcome Mr. Vetrivel Palani, founder and CEO, Ulavar Bhumi Agro Products Private Limited. I request Mr. Dinesh, Yuva student, PSNA College, to introduce the panelist.
Good afternoon to all gathered here. I am V. Dinesh Krishna, Yuva Club Health Vertical Chair, PSNA CET. It is with great pleasure that I introduce our esteemed guest, Mr. Vetrivel, the founder and CEO of Ulavar Bhumi. with an intense commitment to bridging the gap between producer and customers. Mr. Vettivel's journey began after completing his BCA degree at Alpha Arts and Science College in Chennai. His specialization in ECE department. Recognizing for his outstanding contribution, Mr. Vettivel has been honored with several prestigious awards. The Best Agro Food Supplier Award from esteemed Rotary Startup Awards, Life Changer Award from Save Farmers NGO in Chennai, and Best MSME District Level Award in 2022. Beyond his entrepreneurial enterprise, Mr. Vettivel is an inspiring speaker and advocate for social changes. He participated as a panelist in the Samsung Solve for Tomorrow event in May 2023. We are honored to have Mr. Vettivel today, as his remarkable achievement and tireless efforts continue to make a significant impact on lives of margined farmers, women, and rural communications. Thank you, sir.
I welcome Mr. Vinod Rajendran, Project Lead, Startup TN, Madurai Regional Hub. I request Mr. Mohammed Sikandar, Yuva Student, PSNA College, to introduce the panelists.
A very good afternoon to all, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mohammed Sikandar, Student Chair for Innovation Vertical in YI at PSNA CET. It is my honor to introduce our esteemed chief guest for this special occasion. Today, we have with us visionary entrepreneur who has revolutionized the world of food technology, Mr. Vinod Rajendran, Startup TN, Madurai Regional Hub. As a professional, he demonstrated remarkable leadership and determination in developing sustainable and cutting-edge solutions through a deep understanding of industry's challenge and opportunities. Our chief guest has created transformative advancements. It is my privilege to welcome this extraordinary individual whose dedication and innovation have the power to shape the future. Please join me in giving a warm round of applause to our distinguished chief guest.
I welcome the moderator of the session, Mr. Kiran Balaji, Rural Initiative Chair, YI Dindakal, Managing Director, Vritti Ecomats.
Good afternoon, everyone. So thank you so much for joining us in this occasion, both of you. So we'll just straight away get into the discussion regarding the topic. So Mr. Vinod, you have a very good experience with the Startup TN and meeting so many startups throughout your career. So what are the basic requirements and the main factor that any investor looks for before investing their money into a startup? And is there any sort of set of parameters that any startup should be prepared for?
Yes, thanks for the question. First of all, thanks to the YA Dindakal for organizing such a great program and giving me the topic of investment, scale and funding. Come to the question. Actually, the investors mostly looking for the four major factors. The first one is the team, and next is the traction, any initial traction over there, and the mindset of the startup. Okay. Actually, the first is the team. Why most of the VCs only invest on the team of the business, not of the idea, any kind of traction, anything like that. Because anyone can give an idea, but who the person is going to be taking care of the lead is the team. They're mostly looking up to the full-fledged team and who has a very aggressive way of approaching the establishing the idea and the model in that. Then they shortly focus on that mission only. And then the next one is the early traction. Whatever business we can do, that should be mostly focused on the customers. The customer specific demand, everything is action in the model. First of all, most of the business startup I have seen in the model, they are come up with some of ideas. And the chinna ideas mattu vechittu investment venundra and the concept la we advise them to at least or short of at least 50,000 per month or per 1 lakh per month and the traction oda vaanga அப்படின்ற மாதிரி we are mostly advised. We are connecting to some other mentors and networks to bring such a traction model, because the investors, it's collecting money from the various angels and give it to the invest in the one of the startups. That's the traction model they are mostly expecting. And third one is the mindset. Whatever we are getting money from some other person, even if you get a loan from the bank, even getting money from our close relatives, the mentalities we have to be pay back. இப்போ நம்ம ரிலேட்டிவ்ஸில் போய் கேட்குறோம், அவங்க என்ன மென்டாலஜிஸ் நம்ம கொடுப்பாங்க, இந்த கொடுத்துருவோம். அந்த மென்டாலஜி, த மைண்ட் செட் அவங்களுக்கு இருக்கா அப்படின்றத ஒரு இன்டெலெக்சுவலாக தே வில் சர்ச். அண்ட் தென் ஃபைனலி இட்ஸ் த டார்கெட் செக்மெண்ட். The startup, it's focusing in a generic way of customers or targeting segments. If they have a targeting segments with unique idea, definitely they are getting interest. That is the fourth point I want to be ensure that. Thank you.
So, Mr. Vetrivel, you had a really great entrepreneurship journey through Ulavar Bhumi, and you are one of the very few companies that have been funded with a huge amount. So, what were the difficulties you faced, and what are the parameters that you considered in your firm that I will get the funds and I should go for funding?
Hello everyone, myself Vetrivel Palani, I am the founder and CEO of Ulavar Bhumi. I completely understand being a last session because I am experiencing the being last, since my schooling till my, since my name starts with V. So I experienced the advantages and disadvantages of being last. We'll finish it as soon as possible. So I was very new to this industry. I don't even know what is the meaning of startup. So after starting my business, after 2 years, only I came to know what is a startup and what is a funding. I did not come from a business family or business background. We started this in kind of accidents, how we got into this business. When it comes to the investment, it was very, very new word. We were struggling a lot. We started our startup in 2017. We were running behind the banks for quite long time. We are profitable. We were profitable since we started our startup, but still, we couldn't get any bank loans without collateral. So, being a guy from without a background, it was very hard for us to get in loan. Even though we have a very good financial numbers and we were profitable, it was very hard for us to get the loan from the bank. So that's how I got to know about what is startup and investment. So I got introduction with the Native Lead Foundation, which is one of the they invest on ideas, business with a social cause. So if you have a business with a cause, if it is scalable, the Native Lead will invest. So we were running behind a lot of banks, and at one point of time we stopped it. And because we have a beautiful concept called investment, because we don't have EMIs, we don't have interest here, so and we don't need a collateral. So that's how we got into this Native Lead Foundation. We presented our project to them. It was like more than 6 months of travel. And finally, we got our first funding in 2020. We raised 1.2 crores from Native Angel Network. And just before a few months ago, we raised our next level of funding. We raised 1 million from Aniket Capital.
Okay, that's really a very good achievement from your side. So, Vinod, for any startup, which is the right time to seek funding? Like, if I'm assuming someone starts up a company, they'll be having so many issues and all. When is the right time they'll have to approach for funding?
Okay. Actually, the question is, when is the right time to start up seek funding, right? Yeah. Okay. First of all, startups should set their own territory. That is very important. Director on those startups on the director investment போகிறதுக்கு we have to be set our own territory. நம்மளோட territory we are going to be stronger. If I start my business for the people in metro cities, now we have to be set our strong footage in all that. Or we show, if you have a 10-member of team, the 10-member of his team is enough to manage our business in that territory. To tier 2 tier 3 after that, they want to be automated. It is called scaling. They want to explore more marketable areas in all over India, all over the world. That is important. That's the time they need to be seeking for the funding. But the automation process is very important. The same time, we should not invest more money on team members like that, engaging 100 more people to set up such kind of business for the scalable model. We should be scalable the business with a limited power of energy and time and manpower. That is which is important. That's the right time. That's the right point. The investors also interested to get to know the pitch and everything. Then why the investment path is very easy for them. Otherwise, then we can approach the investors. The investors said, okay, we can look forward. The time will be going. Nobody give them the right time of ideas to how to we proceed with how do we invest on the how to give the correct pitch to investors. That is very important. The startup team doing such a great role on it. We are meeting every people, even one-on-one startup connecting also we are giving. Every startups is lagging behind is networking. They don't have access to networking. We are connecting many peoples like programs and events, and also we are having a huge contacts of startup enablers. We are making some people as enablers. We are giving a both front end and back end role on this. I said the startup should seek funding when they were ready to move to expand their business in other cities, other markets, everything.
So regarding the network, so that was going to be my next question. What are the networking platform or training programs that you offer, and can you give me some examples of any startups that you have supported who have achieved big goals and stuff with you?
Okay. Actually, the startup TN has lot of initiatives taken. One of the initiatives regional hubs. Actually, in Tamil Nadu, the only one state which is having a startup regional hubs in Madurai, like the tier 2, tier 3 cities. Anywhere the countries, the metro cities only have such facilities. Our CEO, Mr. Sivaraja Ramanathan, is a visionary of startup and venture capitalism, bringing from the Madurai. Our vision is the startup regional hubs. Because every city has potential, every city have young minds like that, young Indians, the young Indians or young minds of students out there. We need to be nurture them, we need to be grow them. Such kind of entrepreneurship sensitization only come out from the tier 3, tier 4. Then only they are moved to the metro and some other cities. Then so sir decided to set up such regional offices over there. We are conducting many programs. Likewise, one of the program for startup knowledge session for students, because it's a long time journey. We have to be sensitized students. We have to be sensitized the faculties also, because once students come up with some other ideas, the faculty should be nurture them growing along with bring பண்ணி கொண்டு வந்து அவங்களா தான் இருக்கணும். Then we are giving support to faculties and students both as well as actually we have seen one of the student you have asked me some examples, right? One of the students from SIT college, I know, Cirrus IPFS. He started on a business called Cirrus IPFS. He already earning 2 lakhs per month as a freelancer. He is competing AWS and Dropbox, the Cirrus IPFS. We are giving opportunity to pitch the investors. The investor mentoring them. They are connecting to some other platform for getting a fund of up to 4 crores. It's in the pipeline. What is the Cirrus IPFS is doing? It's an encrypted blockchain technology related to storage of files. For now, in the Dropbox, AWS and the methods illa. அவங்க டிஃப்ரெண்ட்டான மெத்தடில் அந்த பையன் கிரியேட் பண்ணியிருக்கான். இட்ஸ் அ செட் ஆஃப் 3 பீப்புள்ஸ் ஆஃப் டைடம். செகண்ட் இயர் தான் படிக்கிறான் அந்த காலேஜ் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்டு. அவன் மைண்ட்லேருந்து வந்ததுக்கு ஒரு இன்வெஸ்டர் ஒரு ஸ்டார்ட் அப் வந்தால் கூட அந்தளவுக்கு எக்ஸைட்மெண்ட் ஆகுது. இந்த ஸ்டூடெண்ட்டோட ஐடியாஸை பார்த்துட்டு ஐ ஹவ் கிவன் ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டி டு 3 பிச்சிங் செஷன்ஸ் ஃபார் திம். 3 பிச்சிலுமே இந்த இன்வெஸ்டர்ஸ் இட்ஸ் ரியலி எக்ஸைட்டட் டு த சச் யங் மைண்ட்ஸ்லேருந்து இவ்வளோ பெரிய விஷயம் வந்திருக்கேன்ட்டு. Because they are only believe the student. அவனோட ஐடியாஸை கூட அவன்கிட்ட இந்த விஷயத்தை பற்றி ஒரு டிஃப்ரெண்ட் ஆர்டிகல்ஸ் நம்ம கொஸ்டின்ஸ் கேட்டாலுமே அவங்களோட ஆன்சர்ஸ் ரொம்ப அப்ரோச்சிங் ரொம்ப நல்லா இருக்கும். ஈவன் ஒரு சைபர் செக்யூரிட்டி எக்ஸ்பர்ட் கூட அவர்கிட்ட கேட்டார். ஏன்னா இட்ஸ் டோட்டலி என்கிரிப்டட் ஒன் இல்லையா. சைபர் செக்யூரிட்டி A to Z மாற்றி கேட்டு பார்த்தாலுமே அவனோட ஆன்சர்ஸ் ரொம்ப யூனிக்காக இருந்துச்சு. தட்ஸ் வை த டீம் பிலீவ் தெம். ஐ ஃபர்ஸ்ட்லி செட் ஒரு டீம் மேலே தான் இன்வெஸ்ட் பண்ணுவாங்க. அதனால தான் அவனுடைய growth இப்போ வந்து ரொம்ப லெவலில் இருக்குது. அந்த பையன் பேர் ஸ்ரீசாந்த். அது ஒன் ஆஃப் த ஸ்டூடெண்ட் ரிலேட்டட் சப்போர்ட் வி ஆர் கிவிங் அண்ட் அவனை ஃபாலோ பண்ணிகிட்டு இருக்கோம். தென் இன்னொரு ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸும் இருக்காங்க, டைம் இல்லை, அதனால் நான் இன்வேசிவ் குளுக்கோமீட்டர், அப்புறம் ட்ரிப்ஸ் போடும்போது நமக்கு ஒரு ப்ராப்ளம் வருது பார்த்துறீங்களா ஹாஸ்பிட்டலில், அந்த ட்ரிப்ஸ் இறங்குனோடனே நம்ம இன்ஃபார்ம் பண்ணணும், ட்ரிப்ஸ் இறங்கி வச்சு இதை க்ளோஸ் பண்ணுங்கன்ட்டு. அதுக்கு வந்து ஆட்டோமேட்டிக்காக சென்ஸ் பண்ணுற மாதிரி இந்த இடத்துல வந்து அந்த வாட்டரிங் லெவல் குறைஞ்சிருச்சு அப்படின்னா குறைஞ்சதுக்கப்புறம் அலாரம் அடிக்கிற மாதிரி அந்த மாதிரி சின்ன இத்தனோண்டு மிஷின்லேயே செஞ்சுருக்காங்க. சச் கைண்ட் ஆஃப் இன்னோவேஷன்ஸ் வி ஆர் ரெகுலர்லி வி ஆர் சீயிங். சரிங்களா. another program is called pitching. Pitching means the startups don't would 4 to 5 years before the startups don't have a place to pitch before the investors or mentors, because that is the place the startup can be grow. ஏன்னா அங்கே மட்டும்தான் ஒரு mentors we are giving bringing a mentor pool into the forum. Among the 60 to 70 application we are shortlisting 10 to 15 startups to pitch their ideas. Not only startups, even though 15 startups means two students ideas will be your approaching. ஸோ அவங்க வந்து நீங்கள் ப்ரெசென்ட் பண்ணலாம் அப்படின்ற மாதிரி சொல்லும்போது அவங்களுக்கான ஒரு பெரிய பிளாட்ஃபார்ம் கிடைக்குது அந்த இடத்துல. இதுக்கு முன்னாடி வந்து நம்ம போய் ஒரு இடத்த அப்ரோச் பண்ணுவோம். ஈவன் தோ ஒரு இன்வெஸ்டர்ஸோட சைஸ் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா 100 CR. ஒரு நார்மல் பர்சன், ஒரு நார்மல் ஸ்டார்ட் அப் வி cannot able to reach them. அவங்க வி cannot knock the door. சரிங்களா. இந்த மாதிரி அவங்கள நாம் இங்கே கூப்பிட்டு வரோம். Now the Madurai and Dindigul and southern region is emerging. இதுக்கு முன்னாடி இன்வெஸ்டர்ஸை நாம் போய் மீட் பண்ணுவோம். For last 6 months we have conducted 3 VC funding meetings. The investor come down to Madurai and on the pitches லாம் கேட்டிருக்காங்க. Last week TNIFMC, that is the 4,000 crore handling investor firm funded by the government of Tamil Nadu. The government will invest equity on you. That's such kind of the big forum. They are come down to Madurai. Among 60 applications, 60 startups they are hearing the pitch. Among them 15 are shortlisted. Might be 2 to 3 are will be getting funded. சரிங்களா. இந்த மாதிரி ஆப்ஷன்ஸ் நிறைய இருக்குது. ஒன்று another startup ரிலேட்டட்னா some of them already know that cup time and another one startup is இந்த இது என்னது யாதுமே இல்லை இல்லை Suliam Industries. They are climate change oriented startups, one of them. They have got grants. Now we are talking about investment. They have got 25 lakhs of grant. ஒரு 2 செக்மெண்ட்டில் வந்து 25 lakhs 25 கிராண்டே வாங்க. The grant we don't want to pay back. அந்த மாதிரி மாடல்ஸ் ஆஃப் இன்வெஸ்ட்மெண்ட் ஐடியாஸ் ஹேவிங் இன் மதுரை. அந்த பொட்டன்ஷியல் we are exploring to. That is the startup team actually doing. All the investors are there, enablers are there. We are bringing them to the Madurai and Dindigul, every other regions. Those startups இந்த மாதிரி ஐடியாஸ்லாம் இருக்காங்கன்னு நம்ம கூப்பிட்றோம். You don't believe Occupied is the one of the fintech startup in Madurai. They are handling 650 crores of transaction in a year. We know all of them. We are actually our role is we are hearing what our startup என்ன பண்ணுறாங்கன்றதை நாங்கள் கேட்டுப்போம். ஒவ்வொரு ஸ்டார்ட்டப்பும் ஒன்றா மீட் பண்ணி கேட்டுக்குவோம். எங்களுக்கான ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டி எங்களுக்கு வீட் ஓப்பன் த டோர். எல்லா இடத்துலையும் என்னென்ன ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டின்னு தெரியும் போது ஒரு ஃபின்டெக் மீட்டர் நடக்குது, ஒரு ஃபின்டெக் இன்வெஸ்டர் நடக்குதுன்னா ஓகே நம்ம ஏரியாவில் இந்த ஸ்டார்ட்அப்ஸ்லாம் இருக்காங்க, we have to be connect them. That's the role actually the startup TN doing that. That's not only for the startups, it's for students also.
Okay, thank you so much. So, Mr. Vetrivel, so after Ulavabhumi got funding, what are the biggest changes that you have modified in your company, pre-funding and post-funding? Is the working module and the administrative methods, have there been any changes, and can you brief us?
Yeah, after getting a funding, I would say that we got a freedom to create more impact. Because when we started, we initially started, I was working in a Zoho before I start Ulavabhumi. I had a car with 100% EMI, so I sold the car for $50,000 and started this business. I never bought in any other funds personally out of this, other than this $50,000. And now it's been 5 years. We are into like almost like 30 to 40 crores valuation. But after getting a funding, we got more freedom. Initial stage, we used to bring milk in a government buses. I used to take the milk in a bike, and I used to wash the bottles. I used to go for marketing. I used to do most of the management team used to do all the works. So we got an opportunity to expand our team after getting a funding. And one more thing is like we used to think before we do any expenses, we don't overburn. That is the reason we are able to, we are profitable for the past 5 years. But still, even though there'll be some necessary expenses, we used to think multiple times before we do that. Because our primary motto was to, make a proper payment for the farmers. We came up with the concept that, we pay a fixed payment for the farmers. Like, have you ever thought, vegetable is being sold for different prices every day, and the other pulses also being sold different prices every day, and the procurement also, being happen in a different prices. But when it comes to milk is being sold throughout the year for the same price. But, the procurement is vary each and every day. Some day they procure a milk at 18 rupees a liter. Some day they procure at 30 rupees a liter. So we came up with a concept that when we are able to sell the milk for same price throughout the year, why don't we procure the milk for the same price throughout the year? So we came up with the concept of procuring milk for the same price throughout the year. So mainly after getting this investment, we got a freedom and investment in the sense, we cannot take it as a money alone. The more essential and the more important factor which we get is a mentorship. So the mentorship is something which we get when we get a funding from the angel network, like a startup Startup TN Organized or Native Lead Foundation or Aniket Angel Fund. We get a mentorship from the industrial leaders. It'll be very hard to reach them, but they'll be sitting with us in each and every day and resolving our concern and guiding us. So that is one of the major support we get after an investment. So that's how we got boomed. We got, we did set up our new facility. We started addressing to more customers. Before that, we used to get a lead from the different location, and we used to say that sorry, we cannot cover that location. So we did a lot of expansion work in terms of resource, infrastructure, and also the customer coverage.
Okay. So I would like to ask one final question to both of you, with from both angles, from Startup TN as well as Ular Bhumi's angle. How do you think the future of funding and startup should be for the upcoming generation of businesses and startups? So what sort of preparations that the next generation should do to get more fundings, and what sort of preparation should ongoing businesses should do to get more funding from both your angles?
In my point of view, it'll be very difficult, I would say. We have more opportunities. We have more events being organized and schemes coming from the Tamil Nadu government. And at the same time, it's going to be difficult as well, because you might have seen a lot of news in the past 2 years. You don't believe that, being a profitable startup with a very good numbers. I had been working on the funding, next level of funding, for the past 1.5 years. So for the past 18 months, I never been into operations. I never done any other job other than investment. So I ran to Bangalore. I pitched to like more than 70 VCs. I have the list and what are the replies they have given. I went to Bangalore. I went to Hyderabad. I went to Dubai. I pitched to like most of the big, VCs. It was like very hard journey. At one point of time, I felt that, okay, we won't be able to raise an investment. At that point of time, I got a lead and we got a funding. Because, a lot of the startups are burning a cash like anything. So now, because of that, as they created a very bad example, most of the VCs started looking into the profitable business. At least the business should run in a sustainable way. So from the initial stage, we have to be very careful in terms of spending, because we need to create a trust on a startup that we won't be burning the cash like people, and will be sustainable, and we have to come up with a new way. See, for us it was very, very difficult, because our startup was not in a organized sector. We did not bring in advancement, or we did not bring in a new innovation in advanced sector. We started working in a unorganized sector. So we started organizing the unorganized sector, which is like, you know, where the milkman's being selling the milk. So technically, I mean, சிம்பிளாக சொல்லணும் அப்படின்னா நாங்கள் ஒரு மாடர்ன் பால் கார். ஸோ நார்மலாக விற்கிற பாலில் வந்து பாட்டிலில் ஃபில் பண்ணி சப்ஸ்கிரிப்ஷன் மாடலில் கொடுக்குறோம். அண்ட் மோஸ்ட் ஆஃப் த ஸ்டார்ட்அப்ஸ் யூனோ ஸ்ட்ரகிள் இன் திஸ் வே தட் கிரெடிட். ஸோ இந்த கிரெடிட் அப்படிங்கிற இடத்துல நிறைய ஸ்ட்ரகிள் இருக்கும். இந்த இனிஷியல் ஸ்டேஜ்லேருந்து we were very strong in one thing. We work only in the subscription model. If you need a milk for next 1 month, 1 monthக்கு அட்வான்ஸாகவே நீங்கள் என்கிட்ட பேமெண்ட் கொடுத்துடணும். அண்ட் இஃப் யூ டோன்ட் ஹேவ் அ பேலன்ஸ், உங்கள் வேலெட்டில் பேலன்ஸ் இல்லை அப்படின்னா 1 day கூட நாங்கள் மில்க் சப்ளை பண்ண மாட்டோம். பிகாஸ் வி ஆர் வெரி காஷியஸ் அபவுட் மேக்கிங் ஃபார்மர்ஸ் பேமெண்ட். எந்த பாயிண்ட் ஆஃப் டைம்லையும் என் ஃபார்மர் சஃபர் ஆகிடக்கூடாது. ஸோ அதனால் வந்து கன்சியூமரை பற்றி கவலைப்பட மாட்டோம் அப்படின்னு இல்லை. தெர் ஆர் ஃபியூ கஸ்டமர்ஸ். நாங்கள் ஒரு பெரிய அப்பார்ட்மெண்ட்டில் ஒரு 100 houses மில்க் சப்ளை பண்ணுவோம். அந்த அப்பார்ட்மெண்ட்டோட செக்யூரிட்டி அவர் குழந்தைக்கு எங்கள் பாலை வாங்குவாங்க. ஸோ நாங்கள் என்னென்னா த குட் ப்ராடக்ட் ஷுட் ரீச் ஆல் தி பீப்புள். அந்த அஃபோர்டபுள் காஸ்ட்டில் தான் ப்ரைஸிங் வச்சுருக்கோம். ஸோ நான் இங்கே என்ன சொல்ல வரேன் அப்படின்னா, அந்த செக்யூரிட்டிக்கு நாங்கள் ஒரு 1 day டைம் கொடுப்போம் பர்சனலாக. தட் சூப்பர்வைசர் வில் ஹேண்டில். பட் த கிரெடிட் இஸ் சம்திங் விச் வி டோன்ட் ஹேவ் அட் ஆல். கிரெடிட் அப்படிங்கிற கான்செப்டே கிடையாது. இனிஷியல் ஸ்டேஜ்லேருந்தே நீங்கள் நம்ம ஆர்டர்ஸ் வாங்கணும் அப்படின்னு நீங்கள் கிரெடிட்லாம் கொடுத்து பழகிட்டீங்க அப்படின்னா இட் பி லைக் வெரி 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 ஹார்ட். நீங்கள் யோசிச்சு பாருங்கள், எங்களது வெரி வெரி மேன் பவர் இன்டென்சிவ் பிஸ்னஸ். இட்ஸ் பீன் லைக் 2116 days since we started our operation. இது வரைக்கும் 1 day வந்து ஹாலிடே இல்லை, 1 day மில்க் ப்ரொக்யூர்மெண்ட் ஸ்டாப் பண்ணதில்லை, ஆப்ரேஷன் 1 day இல்லை, எங்களுக்கு 1 day லீவ் விட்டதில்லை. ஸோ இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு பிஸ்னஸ் இருந்தால் கூட எங்களால் எப்படி வந்து கேஷ் ஃப்ளோ ஹேண்டில் பண்ண முடியுது அப்படின்னா, த மெயின் திங் இஸ் சப்ஸ்கிரிப்ஷன் மாடல். எனக்கு இந்த மந்த் வந்து 1.5 crores நான் டர்ன் ஓவர் பண்ணுறேன் அப்படின்னா அதில் 1 crore வந்து எனக்கு வந்து இதுக்கு முன்னாடி லைக் லெட்ஸ் சே June 30 எனக்கு வர ஆரம்பிச்சிடும். ஸோ தட்ஸ் ஸோ வி யூஸ் அ டெக்னாலஜி. எங்களுக்கு என்டையர் டெக்னாலஜி நாங்கள் பில்ட் பண்ணியிருக்கோம். ஸோ டெக்னாலஜி டிஜிட்டல் மூலயமா தான் எங்களோட எல்லா பிஸ்னஸையும் நாங்கள் ஹேண்டில் பண்ணுறோம். ஸோ எவ்ரி திங், கஸ்டமர் ஆன்போர்டிங்லேருந்து ஃபார்மர் ஆன்போர்டிங்லேருந்து ஒரு ஃபார்மர் என்ன கேட்டில் வச்சுருக்காருங்கிற வரைக்கும் நாங்கள் எங்களோட ஓன் டெக்னாலஜி, ஒரு சேல்ஸ் ஃபோர்ஸ் லெவலுக்கு நாங்கள் எங்களோட ஓன் டெக்னாலஜி உட்காந்து பில்ட் பண்ணியிருக்கோம். ஸோ வி ஹாவ் டு பி வெரி 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 காஷியஸ் இன் டர்ம்ஸ் ஆஃப் ஸ்பெண்டிங். அண்ட் பர்சனலாக ஐ எம் எலிஜிபிள் டு அட்வைஸ் பிகாஸ் first 2 years I was very 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 bad in finance. So first 2 years நாங்கள் ஒரு 3.5 crores ரெவன்யூ டச் பண்ணிட்டோம். எங்ககிட்ட ஒரு அக்கௌண்டன்ட் கிடையாது, ஒரு ஆடிட்டர் கிடையாது, எல்லாமே எக்ஸல் ஷீட்டில் தான் வச்சுட்டு இருந்தோம். ஐ ஃபெல்ட் வெரி பேட் பிகாஸ் இட் டுக் மோர் தென் 2 years ஃபார் மீ டு ஸ்டெபிலைஸ் த ஃபினான்ஸ். ஸோ ஐ ஹாவ் டு பி வெரி வெரி காஷியஸ் இன் தட். ஸோ ஐ அப்ரிஷியேட் த YA team for inviting me. I was not able to give more introduction about whatever Bhumi. You can Google it and you will get lot of interesting fact about what we are doing. Because you know there are a lot of startup came into this field and we lot of startup went off very soon, and we are the only brand handle highest amount of fresh cow milk delivery in maybe South India, and we make like almost like 7,000 to 8,000 deliveries every day, which is like 2 times bigger than what Dunzo makes in Chennai. So thank you so much once again. Thank you.
Thank you. So the floor is open for audience for if you have any questions.
சார் வணக்கம். என்னோட பேர் என் சரவணகுமார். நான் லாஸ்ட்டு 2 இயர்ஸாக என்ன பண்ணிட்டுருக்கேன்னா ஒரு மாடல் கார் டிசைன் பண்ணி வச்சுருக்கேன். 90% முடிச்சிருக்கிறேன். இப்போது எனக்கு சென்னை வரைக்கும் போயிருக்கேன், டெல்லி வரைக்கும் போயிருக்கேன். they gave me a lot of ideas, but I don't have a clear idea. ஐடியாஸ் கிடைச்சது, ஆனால் clear idea எனக்கு கிடைக்கல. The car is already 90% over. இன்னொரு 10% ஒர்க் இருக்குது. Is there any possibility for getting any other support from the Tamil Nadu startup?
Sure, sir. So, இப்போது அந்த ஐடியாஸ் சொல்லியிருந்தீங்க இல்லையா, have you got any mentoring, sir?
Actually, no, sir.
Okay. The first, okay, sir. Actually, the most of the student ideas, most of the startup ideas எப்படி இருக்குன்னா, it's my own idea. I have more faith on it அப்படின்ற ஒரு கான்செப்ட் இருக்குது. நம்ம ஐடியாஸை 4 பேருக்கு சொல்லும் போது நம்ம எதை நிறைய பேருக்கு காட்டும் போதும் இதோட பாசிட்டிவ் அண்ட் நெகட்டிவ்ஸ் தெரியும். சரிங்களா? தட்ஸ் வை ஆஸ்கிங் த கொஸ்டின் ஆஃப் மென்டாரிங், பிகாஸ் தேர் இஸ் அ பிரிட்ஜ் பிட்வீன் த ஸ்டார்ட் அப் ஐடியா அண்ட் இன்வெஸ்ட்மெண்ட், தட் இஸ் கால்டு மென்டாரிங். ஒரு ஸ்டார்ட் அப் வந்து டேரெக்டாக இன்வெஸ்ட்மெண்ட் போகிறதுக்கு முன்னாடி வி நீட் அ மென்டாரிங் த ஐடியா சார். வாட் எவர் யூ ஃபினிஷ் யுவர் 90% ஆஃப் த பிஸ்னஸ் மாடல், நீங்கள் நிறைய இடத்துக்கு போயிருக்கீங்க, எகைன் இது வந்து ஒரு ஃப்ரூட்ஃபுல்லாக இன்னும் மாறல அப்படின்னா we need to be again recheck the idea or recheck the model from the scratch. ஓகேங்களா? the mentoring is very important. We have a mentor TN portal. Anyone can search in that mentor TN. If you want to be some, we are எல்லா மென்டார்ஸுமே நாங்கள் ஆன்போர்ட் பண்ணியிருக்கோம். என்ன ப்ளஸ் எல்லாமே நீங்கள் ஒரு ஸ்டார்ட் அப்பாவோ ஸ்டூடெண்ட்டாவோ நீங்கள் ஆன்போர்ட் பண்ணிக்கலாம். அதில் போயிட்டு எனக்கு எந்த டொமைன் ரிலேட்டட் எக்ஸ்பர்ட் வேணுன்றதையும் நம்ம சூஸ் பண்ணிக்கிட்டா that Google Meet will appear in that scheduled date and time, maybe half an hour or 20 minutes like that. நீங்கள் அந்த மென்டார்ஸ் கூட உங்கள் ஐடியா பற்றி ஷேர் பண்ணலாம். உங்கள் ஐடியாஸ் அவங்களுக்கு சொல்லிட்டு இந்த மாதிரி நீங்கள் என்ன அவங்க தே வில் கைட் யூ அண்ட் நர்ச்சர் யூ. சரிங்களா? தட் நெக்ஸ்ட் ஸ்டெப்ஸ் இஸ் ஒன்ஸ் யூ நீங்கள் அந்த இதில் லெவலாக முடிச்சிட்டிங்க அப்படின்னா அந்த ஸ்டார்ட் அப் டீம் ஆல்சோ கிவிங் அட்வைஸ் ஆன் தம். தென் நெக்ஸ்ட் ஸ்டெப் வந்து எப்படி இன்வெஸ்ட்மெண்ட் வாங்கலாம், ஹவு டு வி கிரியேட் அ பிச் டெப், how do we present on before the investor or early stage இருக்கீங்க. now you are not starting to start a revenue making அப்படினாலுமே நம்ம கொஞ்சம் ஸ்டிமுலேஷன் மாடல் யூஸ் பண்ணி எப்படி இன்வெஸ்டர்ஸ் பிச் பண்ணுறது, எப்படி ஒரு 20 lakhs 5 lakhs அந்த லெவலுக்கான இன்வெஸ்ட்மெண்ட் ஃபஸ்ட் எப்படி கிராஸ் பண்ணுறது ஐடியேஷன் ஸ்டேஜில் இருக்கும்போது தென் மூவ் ஆன் டு த ப்ரீ சீட். சரிங்களா? தேங்க்யூ.
Good afternoon, sir. This is Abhishek. So I have a question. So this is regarding நீங்கள் வந்து social enterprises அப்படின்னா, so you have also got grants and சொன்னீங்க. So what I mean, could you elaborate that? Like what kind of business has done that?
Social impact related.
Social impacted business.
Actually, the government majorly focusing on social impact in startups also. Even though they are running business for the profit oriented, there's a few of the segments is focusing on the social impacting. Yesterday we have met a Hungry Helpers, one of the startup. They are going to Burger King like model, but it's a customized burger model. But they are implementing two social impacting ideas in that. Like that, once நீங்கள் burgers எல்லாமே you can use customized burger model. அதை நீங்கள் வந்து கன்வெர்ட் பண்ணும்போது ஒரு சாய்ஸாக நீங்கள் சூஸ் பண்ண the nutrition profile will be appear in the right side. In that offline and online both. ஓகேங்களா? சேம் செக்மெண்ட் they will be have a one e-bin there. நீங்கள் அந்த பின்னில் வந்து இந்த ரீசைக்ளிங் ப்ராடக்ட்ஸ்லாம் போடுறீங்க அப்படின்னா the reward will be goes to you. Such ஒரு it's not a purely social impacting startup we haven't seen. One of the 20% or 30% should be social impacting. It should be there. That kind of model we are already having a fund. TNFMC have a climate sector fund. It's a 1,000 crores fund. Shelter fund is the habitat oriented. For today morning also we have received any startups working on renewable energy related constructive materials. Definitely they will got a fund, they will got a grants, everything. Habitat Humanity is also already working there. Tamil Nadu Shelter Fund is there. That is the 1,000 crore funding. Everything is there. So we have to be connect the right people to mentoring and take it forward to that. That is where to pitch is very important in that, sir.
Thank you.
This is Setu. I'd like to ask Mr. Vetrivel. So, was there any pressure in your initial stages if someone else has invested on you, right? Was there any pressure in the initial stages, and if there was, how did you handle it?
So, actually, நிறைய இருந்துச்சு. I used to have at least one fight per day with my lead investor. So every day, the lead investors வந்து they have like lot of experience, like அவங்க வந்து பெரிய பெரிய இண்டஸ்ட்ரியோட சேர்மன்ஸாக இருப்பாங்க. ஸோ எவ்ரிடே ஐ யூஸ் டு ஃபைட் வித் தம். ஏன்னா நம்மளோட சிங்க் வேறு மாதிரி இருக்கும், அவங்க சிங்க் வேறு மாதிரி இருக்கும். ஸோ நிறைய விஷயங்களில் சண்டை நடந்திருக்கு. சில நேரங்கள்லாம் எனக்கு என்ன கம்பெனியை எடுத்துக்கோங்க நீங்கள், நான் கிளம்புறேன் அப்படின்லாம் சொல்லியிருக்கேன். பட் ஆஃப்டர் ஃபியூ மந்த்ஸ் ஐ ரியலைஸ் தட் அவங்களோட பாயிண்ட் ஆஃப் வியூ வந்து கரெக்டாக இருந்துச்சு. அவங்க கொடுத்த அந்த டைட்னஸ்ஸு அதால் தான் வந்து நாங்கள் நிறைய விஷயங்களை வந்து ஸ்ட்ரீம்லைன் பண்ணோம். ஸோ நிறைய விஷயங்களை ஸ்ட்ரீம்லைன் பண்ணோம். நீங்கள் இன்னும் என்னென்னா பப்ளிக்காக சொல்ல முடியாது, அந்தளவுக்கு நிறைய விஷயங்களில் நாங்கள் ரொம்ப வீக்காக இருந்தோம். அவ்வளோ விஷயங்களை வந்து நாங்கள் ஸ்ட்ரீம்லைன் பண்ணோம். ஸ்ட்ரீம்லைன் பண்ணதுக்கப்புறமா எங்களுக்கு அதோட இம்பார்ட்டன்ஸ் தெரிய வந்தது. இப்போ லெட்ஸே பார்த்தீங்கன்னா எங்களோட ஃபர்ஸ்ட் இன்வெஸ்ட்மெண்ட் வந்தப்போ 6 months கிட்ட நாங்கள் டாக்குமெண்ட் ஒர்க் மட்டுமே பண்ணோம். பட் இந்த இன்வெஸ்ட்மெண்ட்டில் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா 15-20 days எங்கள் டாக்குமெண்ட் ஒர்க் முடிஞ்சிச்சு. த ரீசன் இஸ் என்னென்னா அவங்க சொன்ன அட்வைஸ் படி நாங்கள் ஸ்ட்ரீம்லைன் பண்ணி வச்சுருந்தேன். பட் ஆனால் அதை நாங்கள் அட்வைஸாக எடுத்துக்கல, அவங்க எங்களை பாயிண்ட் பண்ணுறாங்கன்னு நினச்சி திட்டிகிட்டே தான் அந்த வேலையை செஞ்சோம். பட் at one point of time we realized it was for our good thing, அவ்வளோதான். ஸோ அதனால் ப்ளஸ் அண்ட் மைனஸ் நிறைய இருந்திருக்கு. பட் அதில் 95% வந்து ப்ளஸ்ஸாக தான் இருந்திருக்கு. அதை நாங்கள் வந்து ஒழுங்காக ரெகக்னைஸ் பண்ணலை. பட் லேட்டர் வி ரியலைஸ் தட் தேவர் actually doing good. Thank you.
Hello sir, this is Uma Shankar from CSE department sir. ஸோ அப்போ ஸ்டாஃப் முன்னாடி இந்த கொஸ்டின் கேட்கலாமா நான் தெரில, இருந்தாலுமே நம்ம மெயின் அஜந்தான்னு ஒன்று இவ்வளோ இது பண்ணுறோம். மெயின் அஜந்தாங்கிறது என்னான்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா ஏர்ன் மணிக்காண்டி தான் எல்லாமே பண்ணிக்கிட்டு இருக்கோம். இப்போ வந்து ஒரு இன்வெஸ்ட்மெண்ட் இதில் வந்து நமக்கு பெஸ்ட்டாக இருக்குமா, இல்லை ஸ்டடி பண்ணி அது கம்பெனி ஓரியன்டாக அது மாதிரி போகிறது கொஞ்சம் பெஸ்ட்டாக இருக்குமா சார்?
இல்லை நீங்கள் பிஸ்னஸ் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணணுமா இல்லை நான் படிச்சுட்டு வேலைக்கு போகிறேன்?
சார் ஆக்சுவலி ஐ ஆம் யங் பிஸ்னஸ் ஆண்டர்பிரினர் சார். 2017 இன்வெஸ்டராக இருக்கேன் சார்.
ஓகே, உங்களுக்கு
ப்ராடக்ட் தெரியும்னு நினைக்கிறேன். கிரிப்டோ கரன்சி லைட்டாக தெரிஞ்சிருக்கும். கிரிப்டோ கரன்சியில் 2017 இன்வெஸ்ட் பண்ணி இப்போ கிட்டத்தட்ட ஒரு 4 to 5 year ஆயிடுச்சு சார். மெயினாக அதில் தான் ஃபோக்கஸ் பண்ணிகிட்டு இருந்தது. ஒரு டிகிரி அப்படிங்கிற ஒரு காரணத்துக்காண்டி தான் எங்கிட்ட இந்த பக்கம் வந்தது. அதான் இப்போ ஒரு என்னோடய கொஸ்டின் என்னான்னு பார்த்தோம்னா, அமௌண்ட் நமக்கு வேணுங்கிறதுக்காண்டி தான் எல்லா ப்ராசஸுமே பண்ணிக்கிட்டு இருக்கோம். நமக்கு இன்வெஸ்ட் பண்ணி அந்த ஒரு இது லைஃப் ஸ்டைல் வந்து பிக்காக இருக்குமா, இல்லை படித்து ஒரு கம்பெனி இதுதான் என்னோட ஒரு லைஃப் ஸ்டைல் அப்படிங்கிறது நல்லா இருக்குமான்னு கேட்குறேன் சார்.
கண்டிப்பாக. சரி, நான் ஒரு விஷயம் என்னோட லைஃப் ஸ்டோரியில் நான் சொல்லணும் அப்படின்னா, the entrepreneurship is like very 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 powerful. நான் இன்னைக்கு உக்காண்டிருக்க இடம், இப்போ நான் வந்து நான் மீட் பண்ணுற பீப்புள்ஸு இவங்க எல்லாருமே என்னென்னா, நான் ஒரு வேளை படிச்சுட்டு நான் யூஸ்வலாக ஒர்க் பண்ணிருந்தா இது நடந்திருக்குமான்னு எனக்கு தெரியல. See, I completed my diploma when I was 16.5 years old. I came to Chennai when in 2010. My age was 16.5 years old. I completely studied in a Tamil medium. I finished diploma in electronics and communication engineering. என்னோட official age வந்து 17.5. So 18 years ஆகிற வரைக்கும் I couldn't join anywhere. So என்னோட 18 வயசான என்னோட பர்த்டே அன்னைக்கு போயிட்டு ஒரு கார்பரேட்டில் ஜாயின் பண்ணுறேன். ஸோ 18 இயர்ஸில் அஃபிஷியலாக ஜாயின் பண்ணுறேன். 24 இயர்ஸில் நான் கார்பரேட்டை விட்டு வெளில வரேன். 6 to 7 years I worked in like 13+ corporate. I worked in HCL Technologies, I worked in TCS, I worked in HP, I worked in Sutherland Global Services, I worked in Sangu Gestam Private Limited, Kona Steerings, Hindustan Automation. So almost வந்து 14 கம்பெனிஸில் நான் ஒர்க் பண்ணிட்டு வந்திருக்கேன். என்னோட இனிஷியல் சேலரி 2,500 rupees in 2010. அதுவுமே என்னென்னா 3 months அப்புறம் அந்த கம்பெனிலையும் சேலரி கொடுக்கல, ஏன்னா அவங்களோட ஏஜ் வந்து இப்போ தான் கம்ப்ளீட் ஆச்சு அப்படின்னு ஃபர்ஸ்ட் அந்த கார்பரேட்டுக்கு முன்னாடி போன கம்பெனியில். ஸோ நிறைய ஸ்ட்ரகிள்ஸ் இருந்திருக்கு, சாப்பாடு கஷ்டம் அது இதுன்னு. ஒன் பாயிண்ட் ஆஃப் டைம் ஐ ஸ்டார்ட் டூயிங் மை கிராஜுவேஷன். என் ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ் என்ன சொன்னாங்கன்னா, டிப்ளமோ மட்டும் வச்சுட்டு ஒன்றும் பண்ண முடியாது, ஸோ டிகிரி படி அப்படின்னாங்க. ஐ ஸ்டார்ட் டூயிங் மை கிராஜுவேஷன். பிசிஏ நான் படிக்க ஆரம்பித்தேன். அட்லீஸ்ட் அது படித்தாவது நம்ம லைஃப் மாறும் அப்படின்னு. ஏன்னா ஐ யூஸ் டு ஒர்க் இன் ஆட்டோமொபைல் இண்டஸ்ட்ரி. வெல்டிங் அடிப்பேன், தலையில் வந்து அந்த ஸ்பார்க்லாம் விழும். நான் வேறு ரொம்ப சாஃப்டான ஆள், கண்ணிலலாம் தண்ணி வந்துடும். ஸோ என்னென்னா லைக் டிகிரி படித்தா வேறு ஜாப்க்கு மூவ் ஆகலாம் அப்படின்னு ஐ ஸ்டார்ட் டூயிங் மை கிராஜுவேஷன். பேச்சுலர் ஆஃப் கம்ப்யூட்டர் அப்ளிகேஷன் ஒரு காலேஜில் ரெகுலரில் படிக்கிறேன். ஸோ ஐ யூஸ் டு கோ டு காலேஜ் இன் அ டே அண்ட் ஒர்க் இன் அ நைட். ஸோ ஒர்க் பண்ணிகிட்டே படிக்கிறேன். ஸோ 2 years, 2.5 years, 3 years அந்த பர் டேக்கு ஒரு 1 hour 2 hour தான் நான் தூங்குவேன். ஸோ காலேஜ் முடிச்சுட்டு வெளில வந்தேன். ஐ காட் பிளேஸ்ட் இன் ஜோஹோ. ஸோ ஜோஹோவில் வந்து ஜாயின் பண்ணுறேன். ஜோஹோ வந்து ட்ரீம் கம்பெனி. ஸோ அவ்வளோதான் லைஃப் செட்டில்டு அப்படின்னு நினச்சாச்சு. ஏன்னா அங்கே வந்து ட்ரெஸ் கோட் கிடையாது, ஃபுட்டு கொண்டு வர வேண்டாம், என்ன வேணால் சாப்பிட்லாம், ஒர்க்கிங் டைம் கிடையாது, எப்படி வேணால் இருக்கலாம். ஸோ இவ்வளோ தான் லைஃப் அப்படின்னு ஒரு 1.5 year ரன் பண்ணிகிட்டு இருக்கேன். ஐ வாஸ் ப்ரிப்பேரிங் ஃபார் IELTS டு கோ அப்ராட். ஸோ அப்போ தான் இங்கே ஜல்லிக்கட்டு ப்ரோட்டஸ்ட் நடக்குது. ஸோ ஜல்லிக்கட்டு ப்ரோட்டஸ்ட்டில் நானும் ஒன் ஆஃப் த ப்ரோட்டஸ்டர். அது வரைக்கும் நான் அப்ராட் போகணும், நிறைய ஏர்ன் பண்ணணும் அப்படிங்கிற மைண்டில் மட்டும்தான் இருந்தேன். ஸோ ஐ ரியலைஸ் ஒன் திங் தட் மணி மட்டும் லைஃப் கிடையாது. ஸோ வி ஹாவ் டு டூ சம்திங் ஃபார் த சொசைட்டி. ஸோ இந்த சொசைட்டிக்கு நம்ம எதாவது பண்ணணும் அப்படின்னு. நம்ம நாட்டிலேயே எவ்வளோ பிரச்சனை இருக்குது, நம்ம ஏன் வெளில போனோம் அப்படின்னு ஐ ஸ்டார்டட் NGO இனிஷியலாக. ஸோ சூசைட் பண்ண ஃபார்மர்ஸ்க்கு ஃபுட் அண்ட் எஜுகேஷன் சப்போர்ட், லேக் ரீஸ்டோரேஷன், இந்த மாதிரி வேலைகள் தான் பண்ணிகிட்டு இருந்தேன். அப்புறம் பாலில் ஒரு ஸ்டடி பண்ணோம். ஸோ ஒரு ஹியூமனுக்கு வந்து மதர்ஸ் மில்க் அப்புறம் ஃபஸ்ட்டு ப்ராடக்ட் வந்து ஃபஸ்ட்டு ஃபுட்டு வந்து மில்க்கு தான். அங்கேருந்து இங்கே அடல்ட்ரேஷன் ஸ்டார்ட் ஆகுது. ஸோ குழந்தைங்களுக்கு கெமிக்கலாக பால் கொண்டு வரணும் அப்படின்னு ஃபீல்டுக்குள்ளே வந்தோம். ரொம்ப கஷ்டப்பட்டோம். நிறைய பேர் திட்டினாங்க, எதுக்கு உனக்கு இந்த வேலை, பால் விற்கிற வேலை, ஜோஹோலேயே நீ ஒரு 1 lakh சேலரி வாங்கிட்டு இருந்த. when I was 23 years old I was working in Zoho. ஸோ எதுக்கு இந்த வேலை அப்படின்னு நிறைய திட்டினாங்க. பட் அது ஆண்டர்ப்ரனர்ஷிப் கொடுத்த பவர் இருக்குல்ல, என்னென்னா நான் மணி அப்படிங்கிறத மட்டும் நோக்கமாக வச்சு வேலை பார்க்கல. ஏதோ ஒரு காஸ்ட் க்ரியேட் பண்ணோம், ஒரு இம்பாக்டை க்ரியேட் பண்ணோம் அப்படின்னு மட்டும்தான் நான் வேலை பார்த்தேன். பட் ஆனால் ஆட்டோமேட்டிக்காக வெல்த்தும் ஒரு சைட் க்ரோ ஆச்சு. கம்பெனியோட வேல்யூவேஷன், கம்பெனியோட இதெல்லாமே ஒரு சைடு நடந்தது. ஸோ நான் என்ன நினைக்கிறேன் அப்படின்னா, நான் ஒரு 8 years ரிட்டையர் ஆகிற வரைக்கும் வேலை பார்த்துருந்தா கூட இன்றைக்கி நான் இந்த 3-4 yearsல அச்சீவ் பண்ண விஷயத்தை என்னால் அச்சீவ் பண்ணியிருக்க முடியாது. த ஆண்டர்ப்ரனர்ஷிப் இஸ் லைக் வெரி 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 பவர்ஃபுல். இது மணி மட்டும் சம்பாதிக்குதுன்றதை தாண்டி உங்களுக்கு நல்ல மனிதர்கள் நிறைய பேரை வந்து சம்பாதிச்சு கொடுக்கும். அண்ட் யூ வில் கெட் கான்டாக்ட் வித் லாட் ஆஃப் பவர்ஃபுல் லீடர்ஸ். ஸோ இன்றைக்கி வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா ஒரு டெய்ரி இண்டஸ்ட்ரியில் ஒரு பெரிய லெஜண்ட் இருக்கார். அவரை மீட் பண்ணுறதுக்கே உங்களுக்கு ஒரு 1 month அப்பாயின்மெண்ட் கிடைக்கும், அந்த லெவலில் இருக்கவர். பட் எனக்கு இன்னைக்கு காலைல ஹாய் என்ன எனக்கு இந்த பிரச்சனை அப்படின்னா ரிப்ளை பண்ணுவாங்க. திஸ் இஸ் வாட் த பவர்ஃபுல் ஆஃப் ஆண்டர்பிரினர்ஷிப். ஸோ அண்ட் பர்சனலி வாட் ஐ வுட் சே இஸ், இஃப் யூ வாண்ட் டு டூ அ பிஸ்னஸ், entrepreneurship is like very very simple. Find a real world problem. நீங்கள் டெய்லி கடந்து போகிற பாதையில் ஏதோ ஒரு பிரச்சனை யாரோ டெய்லி ஃபேஸ் பண்ணிருப்பாங்க. Find a real world problem and start finding a solution for that. அவ்வளோதான் entrepreneurshipங்கிறது. ஸோ நாங்கள் அந்த ப்ராப்ளம் தான் சால்வ் பண்ணோம். எங்கள் ஊர்லேருந்து சென்னைக்கு போன எல்லாரும் நல்ல பால் கிடைக்கல, இங்கே வந்து நல்ல பால் குடிச்சிட்டு இருந்தாங்க. குழந்தைங்க நல்ல பால் வேணும் தேடிட்டு இருந்தாங்க. அந்த சொல்யூஷனை நாங்கள் சால்வ் பண்ணோம். அந்த மாதிரி ஃபைண்ட் அ ரியல் வேர்ல்ட் ப்ராப்ளம் அண்ட் ஸ்டார்ட் சால்விங் இட். அண்ட் ஒரே ஒரு அட்வைஸ் என்ன அப்படின்னா, என்னை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் நான் உழைப்பு இல்லாமல் வர ஒரு ரூபாவே நம்புறதில்லை. ஸோ லைக் சே when it comes to investment, I'm sorry to say this, அதாவது ஸ்டாக் மார்க்கெட் இன்வெஸ்ட் பண்ணுறதா இருக்கட்டும், இல்லை ஐஎஃப்எல் மாதிரி எனக்கு 10 லட்சம் போட்டால் மாதம் 1 லட்சம் வரதா இருக்கட்டும். ஸோ நான் எங்கேயுமே உழைப்பு இல்லாமல் வர ஒரு ரூபாயும் நம்புறதில்லை. ஸோ அதுவும் ஒன் ஆஃப் த ரீசன் why we are doing well. ஸோ entrepreneurship is like very 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 powerful. ஸோ எல்லாருமே நான் பண்ணுற அட்வைஸ் என்னென்னா, we need a basic education. அதுக்காக காலேஜ் இல்லாமல் இருக்க முடியாது. ஏன்னா இங்கே கற்றுக்கிட்ட சில டிசிப்ளின் தான் நம்ம டிசிப்ளின், சில விஷயங்கள் will take us forward. So sorry for taking more time. The word is very simple. Entrepreneurship is like more powerful than anything.
So thank you so much for joining us. It was a very great session. So we'll just close the session. And
session. I would like to call upon Ms. Kritika, Entrepreneurship Chair, YI Dindikal, and Mr. Balaji Masum Chair, YI Dindikal, to present a memento to the panelists. It's now time for awarding the best questions of the session. I request our panelists Mr. Vetrivel Palani and Mr. Vinod Rajendran to reward Mr. Abhishek and Mr. Seduraman. Gratitude is an attitude to relish every service rendered. I request Learning Chair Mr. Nishant to give the vote of thanks.
Esteemed achievers, the Young Indians team, and my dear students, the future leaders, good afternoon. It's a very warm welcome and an honor to give vote of thanks here today. So it is a proud moment to host the YI event at Y20 event at PSNA. So I would like to start with a quote. Innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower. That's a favorite quote from my leader Steve Jobs. So I'd like everyone to foster on innovation. And Young Indians is one among the extraordinary organizations that fosters innovation, growth, and connects visionaries with young minds. Thank you for the amazing conversation between the young minds young achievers and our moderators. That was an excellent steer of knowledge from our moderators to get such a gem of knowledge from all our young achievers. Thank you, everyone. And thank you once again for the welcoming atmosphere from PSNA management. Thank you.
We request all YI members to come to stage for a group photo.
Happy Studios, in pursuit of framing happiness.